complicated answer, but here's the simplest way to think about it. They could, in theory, re-sign Daniel Jones extend Daniel Jones right now. They could do it 5 minutes from now if they want, technically. However, there are some technicalities that make that tough. So, for example, the player's cap number, so his current cap number, which is like $14-point-something million, that cannot extension without increasing the current cap number. The only way to do that would be to give him no money up front. And frankly, if you're Daniel Jones, there's no incentive for you to sign a contract with no signing bonus, right? If you're having a great season. So, and this isn't going to happen now. I think this conversation is more a matter of like January, February, right? They're not going to do this now. They have plenty of time. They have his rights until early March, so there's no need to even go there while the meal is still being cooked, if you will. But I do think this will become a conversation for us, as we get to maybe like the NFL Combine around that time, and the idea of him hitting free agency starts to come up. You have to start thinking about this. So the other thing to mention here, the Colts have the secret weapon. They have the franchise tag. And I think you would be 1,000% willing to franchise tag him if he keeps playing well, because at worst, you're getting the market rate for a guy of that production, right? The franchise tag it's a lot of money, but in a one-year situation when you have no quarterback, it's worth it, right? So I think they'll be fine, and they will, if they so choose, they will be able to retain Daniel Jones. I don't think it'll be a big deal.
Okay, last question, Stephen, on your way out here, and that is, over the course of today, we are looking at or anticipating the possibility of announcements from the Colts of signing players in what position?
Well, kicker for sure. Potentially secondary, depending on the status of Mike Hilton, and we'll see how close Kenny Moore is, but that's a factor there as well. So particularly that slot corner, because right now you're kind of down to Mekhi Blackman, who apparently can't stay on his feet, for the love of God. But if you know what I'm talking about.
And I'll tell you what, got a lot of reps last Sunday, no question about it, but earned his paycheck, I guess.
And a great pick on his part too, but a great interception. Should have scored, but we're not picky.
Speaking of great pick and picky, Trevor Lawrence caught with both of them last night before a game-winning drive. Just so you know, if you were watching that game, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Stephen, appreciate it.
More information than you needed.
That's exactly correct, yes. Stephen Holder joining us from ESPN.com. Interesting news there about Joe Flacco, because Flacco obviously, that for Cincinnati, basically what that is, look, we just need somebody to hold serve for us. They've got weapons. I mean, if Jake Browning, I watched a little of that Detroit-Cincinnati game on Sunday. And Browning, who's a guy that I thought was certainly capable of kind of big arm stuff, because he did it last year in stretches. And, Eddie, there were two drives where at one point he threw an interception, and, I mean, it was like 8 yards shy of where it needed to be. It was just like, what in the world is he doing?
Yeah, no idea, Jake.
And then I think it was overturned, and he threw another one.
No, that one was not overturned. But he ended up throwing 3. But there were times I was watching that game too. It's like, dude, you're not looking in the right spot.
Totally. I mean, he looked completely out to lunch, right?
Oh yeah.
With that offense and those players, then you would think that just simply competency. I think there are a lot of people that are like, why not Jameis Winston? And I get it, right? I mean,
my guess is that the familiarity within the division of Joe Flacco
that's possible.
Probably weighs a little bit into that.
And you kind of know what you're getting there, right? I mean, not that you don't with Winston, but,
I mean, with Winston, you could get 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, and you could also get 3 picks.
Hey, Jake, 239-1070 is the text line number. Also the phone number. Now, I told you that, and I can't remember the name of the gentleman that called me yesterday on my cell phone that said that he's banned. Said he's been banned from the station. I said, we'll call in tomorrow. I'm happy to have you on. I've never been given any name. Seemed like a nice guy. Said he's called in today and nobody answered. Let me read you the exact message that he sent to me. This seems aggressive. Hey, Mr. Query, I told you they banned me, and you said to go ahead and call in the show. Well, I've called in today over and over, and no one has answered, and I'm going to put it in PG version here. To heck with you and to everyone else. To heck with every one of you. Okay? I'm just... How do I always end up being like the fall guy here when I'm like, I'm just the middleman? I'm a nice guy. Hey, Jake, we were talking about Shane Steichen. This from Josh in Fountain City. Do you think the growth that we've seen in Steichen this year perhaps could be because of no more do you have an owner inserting himself on the coach or the general manager and thus changing building philosophy? I do think it's an unfair and uncomfortable thing to say. And I don't know whether or not Jim Irsay was guilty of overstepping. I think there were times. I think certainly the Sam Ellinger situation, and that was not in the Shane Steichen era. But do perhaps the head coach and the general manager feel like they have more, that they have more freedom and less scrutiny in terms of just fewer people to run things past? Possibly. I don't think that can be ruled out. Jake, everybody forgets that Shane almost made the playoffs with Gardner Minshew. That from Gary. Jake, it feels like the AFC is setting up to be a conference where the 6 or 7 seed gets on a run at the end of the year and then makes the Super Bowl. That's a good point. Like Lamar Jackson gets back, Baltimore makes a run, or say the Steelers, Browns, and Bengals already seem to be better in that division. The Chiefs are going to be fully healthy and have Rashid Rice back in Week 7. All good points, right? No question, all good points. I just think every year you get the team, as we talked about, that midway through October into early November, you're like, are they good? And I think we're already there this year, and whoever would have guessed it was the Colts, Eddie. I mean, we each made our prediction. We each made our guesses to who it was going to be. I said I thought it'd be the Raiders. They're terrible. Matt Verderam accurately said the team that was going to be the dumpster fire would be the Dolphins. They've turned it around a little bit, but they're going nowhere. To be honest with you, Eddie, right now, and this does change, it fluctuates over the course of the year, but the team where the wheels have come off, you want to say who that is right now? The team right now where the wheels have come off. At the beginning of the year, we said there's always some team that midway through the year, you're like, what happened to them? And I think we know now who it is.
I think we do as well.
AFC or NFC?
AFC.
Correct. Let me ask you this. 9.5-hour drive from here? 10-hour drive from here?
No.
Okay. Is it a team with a Major League Baseball town?
Yes.
An American League or National League team?
National League.
See, you and I are going to disagree. You're going to say the Bengals?
No.
Okay. This is a team that you expected to be better? Is that what you're saying?
Better than what they currently are.
Your prediction for this particular team, I believe, was going to be Pittsburgh, correct?
Initially going into the season, yes.
And it is not Pittsburgh.
It's not Pittsburgh.
You're going to say it is Houston.
It is not Houston.
Okay, go ahead and hit me.
Miami.
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, Miami's the one that Verderam said that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point the team you would say is Baltimore. It's not entirely their fault, but Baltimore, I mean, they may be done.
They're still the favorite to win the conference.
Here's the thing. I don't disagree with that. I think from a talent standpoint, an experience standpoint, a game changer standpoint, you have to take Baltimore seriously.
And you look at their upcoming schedule.
But they are starting to numerically get into a situation where precedent says it's a really big hole to come out of.
Look at their upcoming schedule. So they have Los Angeles at home this week. Then they have their
Los
bye
Angeles?
week. Rams.
Okay.
Then they have Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland, the Jets, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Bengals, the Patriots, the Packers, the Steelers.
It's pretty doable.
Very doable. Especially when you look at where things are at within that division right now. You've got Cincinnati. Are they going to be able to hang in there now with Joe Flacco until Joe Burrow can come back?
Yeah, Cleveland's a disaster, right?
Cleveland's a disaster. Is Pittsburgh for real at 3-1? Do we know?
Doesn't Pittsburgh do this to you every year? Every year, aren't you like Pittsburgh? Okay, they're going to be good. Yeah, okay. 9-8, baby. 10-7.
Steelers have a pretty daunting schedule coming up relatively quickly. Packers, Colts, Chargers.
Half of the AFC North plays in the same state. That state is?
Half of the AFC North plays in the same state?
Yes. And that state is?
It's not Ohio.
Yes. Right? Half of the AFC North plays in the same state, correct? There are 4 teams in the AFC
For some reason,
North.
I was thinking there's 5. I don't know why.
So,
I was thinking of Major League Baseball.
OHIO, Ohio. And their college coach, Ryan Day, said something very interesting about Indiana, which I'll explain next. It's raining, but the leaves haven't started falling really, right?
They have not. They haven't even started changing colors yet.
Isn't that crazy? So therefore, we have not yet gotten, excuse me.
Received?
Thank you. We have not received the annual Mom Query PSA. It's probably a matter of time. I never ask for it. It's like the cherub on Monument Circle. The downtown cherub. No one asks for it. It just appears.
It's like your bad analogies. Nobody asks for them, but they still keep coming.
People love those. Kids in particular. Yesterday, I was at the Safeway over there at 56 in Illinois. I walked in. Little kid comes up immediately. He said, that's the first thing he said to me. I love your analogies. I said, well, thank you. Little youngster. Bit of a speech impediment. Nice kid. Liked my analogies.
Wait, he brought up your analogies over the get to know your listener?
Yes. Well, and here's the thing. Get to know your listener. We've done market research on that and had meetings about it, and they tell us that kids love it. But in terms of my analogies, I know for a fact kids actually do love it. They go crazy over it. Ryan Day is the head football coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Is he using his Just for Men again?
Didn't his wife come out and say that he's not using that on the biggest telltale sign that you're using some sort of Grecian formula in your beard is not necessarily when it drips down into your shirt after a sweaty game, but when your wife is getting on and saying, by the way, unsolicited, she says this, by the way, he is not putting any formula in his beard. Well, that right there, All I have to say to you folks is this. If you are worried about, if you're worried about your hair going gray, like guys, if you're worried about going gray, easiest thing to do, just keep it real close on the sides. If you keep it close on the sides, you can't, like this bad boy right here, what you're looking at right here, Eddie? Silver fox, right? But I just go in, 1.5 guard, good to go.
Now, what about the top, the back?
Well, I don't have the Bisquick, right? I mean, I'm not going with like the mullet totally, where it's like, party in the front, business in the back type deal. But I'm fortunate that to this point, you can see my hair. What percentage of this part are we seeing silver shining through?
Not a lot. It's more or less on your sides.
It's getting there, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's definitely getting there. Like the sides are basically, if we're talking snow, the sides are essentially, at this point, the Arctic Circle. The top, a little more like northern Indiana, late November. Ryan Day, though, is the head coach of number 1 Ohio State. They have upcoming Illinois, okay?
Illinois.
That's right. He was asked about trying to learn about Illinois based on their game with Indiana. Quote, pitch the game, throw it out. He later went on to comparing it to Nebraska last year, saying that they tried to learn from the Nebraska game, but Nebraska had been beaten by 49 by Indiana. So his implication here is that you cannot learn anything about the fact or take solace in the fact that Illinois was beaten soundly by Indiana because Indiana soundly beats a lot of people and a lot of good teams. That is, in fact, a compliment from Ryan Day about Indiana. And Derek Schultz had a post, and he's exactly correct. Who in the world ever would have thought that we would live to the day where the coach of a number 1 team in the country would reference not 1 but 2 Indiana games as you can't use that as a benchmark because Indiana is that much better than so many people. Indiana right now, it is very similar to the Colts. IU football and what they're doing under Curt Cignetti is very similar to the Colts in this regard. Both teams beat teams they're supposed to beat soundly, right? Number 1. And number 2, So not only are they soundly beating teams that they're supposed to beat and getting leads and then just compounding and compounding and compounding, but in addition to that, they are in the mix of, when you look at it and you say, I don't know that they're a top 10 team. And I think more people feel that about Indiana than that. I think people are more sold on Indiana as a top 10 team than they are the acceptance of the fact the Colts are a top 5 team, let's say, because of what Indiana did a year ago. So, like, there's precedent there of, well, yeah, I mean, they're just carrying on. Having said that, though, if you look at college football right now, Eddie, and you look at the college football playoff, and I know it's very early for this and there's a lot of football to be played, but I think undoubtedly Ohio State is the number 1 team in the country. But who's number 2? I don't mean ranking-wise. I mean, who do you feel is the second best team in college football?
With John Mateer healthy, I thought it was Oklahoma.
Okay.
They had a nice win at home against Michigan. They've had some other good wins.
I think Miami is certainly in the discussion, right? I mean, Miami's got a couple of impressive wins. And after that, I mean, Texas A&M actually has a pretty impressive resume.
Oregon, Ole Miss.
But Texas A&M is the Penn State of the South, right? Where every year you're like, oh, my gosh, here's 7-0 A&M. They're going in against Texas or Oklahoma, and then they get beat. And then the next week it turns around and you're like, how in the world did they just lose to Kansas State? I'm going to make a statement right now that kind of pains me to make. Okay? But if you went to St. Richard's, if you went to St. Pius, if you went to Cecina or Roncalli or Cathedral, then you're going to love what I'm about to say. The only reason I say that is because the vast majority of people who attended those schools that I just mentioned are, in fact, fans of this team for the obvious reason. But beyond that, if you're a fan of Indiana basketball from 1975 to 1995, you're going to love what I say because most of those people are fans of this program. And it pains me to say it. And it's weird to say it because of things if you look at their schedule. But my name is Jake Query.
Hello, Jake.
Hello.
My name's Eddie Garrison.
Hello, Eddie. I do a radio program in Indianapolis called Query & Company, and I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm not a fan of this team. But I am prepared right now on the 7th day of October of 2025 to declare on the radio right now that I do in my heart believe that Notre Dame is one of the best 8 teams in college football. I know that they lost to Miami in Miami. I know that they lost kind of flukishly, no disrespect to Texas A&M, at home to Texas A&M. And I know that they have not really been tested since then. But like the Colts, Notre Dame, like Indiana, is doing what good teams and great teams do, and that is when they are going against subpar competition, they are emphatically beating them. And when you look at their schedule, they still have remaining on their schedule, and they've played. Listen, I have made a living getting in debates with people about the schedule or the quality of schedule of Notre Dame. But their schedule this year is good. It's not their fault that Boise State is down. Boise State at the time that agreement was made was a top 10 program. Kudos to them for having them on the schedule. A&M and Miami that is a stout 1-2 combo to open. No question about it. Even though A&M every year, Texas A&M every single year. Texas A&M's like the weather. Great in October, terrible by December. Every year, right? Beautiful in September. Not so good mid-December. Every year. But to go and, to lose to A&M at home last minute and to go to Miami and now, those 2 losses are standing the test of time to this point pretty nicely. They need A&M to uphold their end of the bargain and continue with what they're doing. because it looks good for them. It looks favorable for them. Penn State, though.
Yeesh. Texas? Woof.
Are the biggest boosters in Penn State and State College asking the area code for Bloomington? I'm just curious. Is it possible? Is it possible? 239-1070 is the telephone number. Feel free to chime in. Scott Agnes is going to join us about 12 minutes from now. That is because Pacers in action. They take on the Timberwolves tonight. We come back. We have a ticket giveaway to get to. We have tickets to give away, correct, Eddie?
We got lots of tickets.
All right. We do have lots of tickets. I'm looking at it right now.
You're actually looking at the show document I put together every day?
I am.
That's a first.
Well, usually it's up by sometime around 11:56. Okay, so the tickets to give away, we're going to do a little get to know your listener. And would you like to see, we'll even give you a choice because we have 3 to give away. MGK, Dave Altell, and Kansas. Not the Kansas I flunked out of. Kansas, the band. Great band. 239-1070. We'll do it next. Give away to a couple of shows. MGK, which is coming up over the summer, but a couple of these are very soon. Dave Attell is going to be here at the Old National at the Murat coming up on Saturday. That's this weekend. And Kansas, who you just heard right there, is playing at Everwise coming up on Friday night. And that's going to be a fabulous show because not only are they a great band, not only do they follow me on the Expos Twitter, by the way, Eddie, but Kansas also, it's going to be a beautiful night, and both those are great venues, absolutely great venues. But to be outside this Friday night, I think it's going to be spectacular. Do you know, by the way, one of my strange skill sets that I have, Eddie? I can tell you, not for all, but for the vast majority, roughly 84%. I can tell you you name the state, I can tell you the nickname. Like Indiana's the Hoosier State. Illinois is the land of Lincoln. Do you know what Kansas is?
No.
That should be one of the trivia questions we ask. And I'm not necessarily going to hold anybody to having to get it correct in order to go because we're going to give the tickets away. We'll begin with Candace, who joins us on the program. This, I believe, is female listener number 30. Eddie, do you happen to have the breaking news sounder? This just in. This number has oscillated a few times, but I believe Candace makes 30 for us unless she's called in before. Candace, have you called the program before?
I have.
Eddie, do you happen to have the breaking news sounder? This just in. Back to 29 in our oscillation. Hi, Candace. How are you?
Just fine. How are you?
Could you have lied and gone with an alias next time by chance?
No, I'm not. I'm not that bright to think of an alias.
All right. Candace, you sound fun. Are you a fan of Kansas, or do you just like the fact that it's fun to say Kansas and Candace?
I actually am a fan of it. My husband got me. I was born a pastor's daughter, and so we didn't listen to rock and roll or anything, and my husband got me connected to it when we got married, and that's what we do on Friday night is listen to old 70s and 80s music, and Kansas is one of them.
I love it, Candace. That's cool. Now, where did you grow up?
Here in Indianapolis, Indiana.
All right, fair enough. And then what high school?
Well, here's your trivia. I went to a small Baptist high school on the south side of Indianapolis that was not called Baptist High. It was called at the time Baptist Academy, and I think they've changed their name.
Okay, now let me ask you this. I've always heard, now Candace, and I don't mean this in a tawdry sense, okay? But the rumor growing up was that kids whose parents were, like the preacher's son, preacher's daughter, all those things, they were the party kids. True or false?
Well, in our household, it was false. My dad was so strict. Oh, my gosh, no. And then I was just too afraid to do anything when I got out of the house.
All right, that's cool. You sound fun, though. Like, you guys will be awesome to go to Kansas with, right? What's your husband's name?
His name is Jeff.
Jeff. Candace and Jeff on your way to go see Kansas.
Is that Central Christian Academy? Did we get the high school right?
Is it Central Christian Academy?
I think they changed their. Yes, they're on Villa Avenue. Yes.
Also known as CCA. Look at you, Eddie. Look at Eddie.
Thank you.
All right, Candace, I appreciate you tuning into the program. We will get you on your way. Now, here's the thing. If you are Daniel, wait a minute. Now, hold on. Is this Jewel or Julie?
Jewel.
Okay, so let's go to Daniel first. Daniel's got to be pumped up because, Daniel, you want to go see Kansas as well, right?
Yes, I do.
Now, Daniel, don't you agree? If you're going to be there with Candace and Jeff, and I'm assuming the seats are going to be in proximity with one another, they sound fun, right?
They do sound very fun.
Daniel, do you have a favorite song from Kansas?
Dust in the Wind.
I was going to say, you got to go with Dust in the Wind, right? I mean, after all, if you've ever seen Bill and Ted's, right?
Yep.
All right, Daniel, we're going to send you on your way. That was quick and easy for Daniel. So Daniel is on his way. Now, Scott, on the other hand, Scott would like to go see Dave Attell. That's also coming up this weekend at the Murat at the Old National Center. Hi, Scott. How are you?
Hey, very good, man. This is the same Scott mini marathon, Scott, about the big melon there that you're working with.
I do recall that. As a matter of fact, Scott, you ran the mini marathon in a Rick Smits jersey, did you not?
Absolutely correct. Yep.
Are you doing the mini coming up this May?
I've done 15 straight. I got a bet with my brother to do 25 in a row. So,
how old a fella are you now, Scott?
I'll be 40 in a month.
Okay, and how long have you been stacking milk crates today? No, just kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm moving buckets right now to do a job.
You're moving
actually.
buckets? You're moving buckets?
Yeah, my buckets and tools, different stuff. Yeah, I do a lot of plumbing work, so I got to constantly in and out.
So you're just laying pipe all day?
Yeah, basically
Okay.
at work and at home.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear, Scott. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Start training for the mini, and you will enjoy the show coming up this weekend, and I will see you in the mini marathon for number 16 for you. All right. We got 2 more to give away here. Is that right? Or one more? Eddie?
One more with 2 contestants.
I'll let you pick. Eddie, you dial them up. I'll let you pick.
I'll go with Chris.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
You know, I can't complain. You driving right now? Hands at 10 and 2 if you are.
Kind of at 1 and 3.
Okay, also acceptable. How are the road conditions, by the way? It was a little misty when I came in.
No, it's real good out here on the east side.
No rain today?
No rain today.
I was doing the Monon over the weekend, and I went past White River, now known as White Ditch. We need some rain is what I'm getting at there, Chris. You know what I mean? A little dry.
I understand that.
Yeah. Chris, how old a fella are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I am a spry 65.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, nothing wrong with that. You sound spry. Do you?
I am spry.
Just out of curiosity, when we occasionally do, and believe me, it's at the beg of our bosses, it is occasional. When we do the Get to Know Your Caller segment, which kids love, and we've had a lot of research on that, do you find yourself as a listener enjoying the Get to Know Your Listener segment, or rather just something that you need to wade through, kind of like the ditch of White River when there's no rain?
No, I do like the Get to Know Your Listener.
Okay. Anything you want to add in that we need to know about you, Chris?
Well, I'm a huge Kansas fan.
The band or the basketball team?
Or football.
Or football.
Or Chiefs.
No, the band. The band for sure.
Chris, do you happen to know, have you been to the state of Kansas?
You know, I never have.
Okay. Do you know what their nickname is? For example, like give me a state off the top of your head, Chris. This is a little skill I have. Give me any state.
Any state at all.
Yeah.
Let's go Arkansas.
Arkansas, I believe, is the natural state. Now, can you look that up for me, Eddie, if you could? I believe Arkansas, though, is the natural state, is their nickname. But
you are correct.
Well, yes, thank you. It's a little skill I have. 84% I can usually hit. Chris, Kansas is the sunflower state, just so you know.
I think I heard that. Isn't it the wheat state, too?
Well, again, interesting question. It is known for its wheat. As a matter of fact, when you pull into Kansas, they have a huge sign that says the Kansas wheat farmer feeds 11 people and you. And then if you go to a Kansas basketball game, they put their arms in the air and they wave it back and forth to simulate the wave of the grains of wheat. So it is known for its wheat, but it is the sunflower state. There you go. That's more info about Kansas than you'd ever need to know, but you also are on your way to go see them in the band. We will get you the tickets, and I appreciate you listening.
I've also heard it called the Garden of the West.
Eddie, you got the Gateway to the West, which is in Missouri, which also borders Kansas, just so you know.
In the breadbasket of the world. That's another nickname for Kansas, apparently.
The breadbasket of the world?
Yes.
Now, I do know this. I know that I had buddies from McPherson, Kansas when I was at KU, and I'm like, where exactly is McPherson? And they're like, it's the staple in your book when you open up a map of the United States. Because it's like right in the middle of the state, and when you open the map. I'm like, okay, that's a good way of saying it. Scott Agnes joins us next. Pacers in action tonight taking on the Timberwolves. Couple of interesting points and players to watch. We'll discuss with him next. Pacers in action tonight, taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota, by the way, the land of 10,000 lakes. Joining us now on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line. He's a guy that probably you could see working at a Java House coffee outlet near you. Scott Agnes joining us from Fieldhouse Files. And Scott, I'll begin with this. We were talking about the Pacers earlier, and one of the things that I'm most interested in, so before I guess I tip my hand and lead the witness with my own answer, the player or players that you are the most intrigued to see what they're able to do here at the outset of the season and through the preseason would be who?
First of all, great gig with Java House, big fan. But for me, it's all about the center position, Jake. We got two players coming off Achilles tendon injuries less than a year ago. To me, I'm circling the center spot and seeing what Isaiah Jackson, what James Wiseman, and to the bigger point, what Jay Huff look like.
That's it. And by the way, are you a coffee guy? Are you more the latte guy? What do you go with, Scott?
More black coffee most of the time.
Yep.
I'll mix in a latte in the afternoon.
The Colombian is very good because it's amazingly smooth. I'm curious to see how amazingly smooth the Pacers' bigs are because, and not just Scott, because I think Isaiah Jackson was so I loved when he would get minutes in spot minutes and at times significant minutes when he was healthy. And then he had the Achilles injury. And it goes without saying that I'm intrigued to see both he and James Wiseman how much bounce they still have because that was what separated both of them when healthy, even though Wiseman, it was elsewhere. I mean, we didn't see him much here. But you know, just because I'm so fascinated by the Tyrese Halliburton recovery, and I know that every body is different, Scott, I know that. But so far from what you've been able to see in very limited exposure to them, does it look like, and you can go with both of them individually here, how much step potentially does it look like either may have lost?
Yeah, I would say just so far so good. I thought at the Fan Jam in particular, they both had some good minutes. Both had some athletic points, whether it was jumping, blocking, leaping, forget whatever the sequence was. That didn't matter to me. It was more, did they recover? Did they hesitate? Did they have a quick first step? And I was encouraged by what I saw, but it's also a step above a practice. So that's why starting tonight will be so important because, first of all, we were all curious to see what James Wiseman looked like last year, and it happened in game one in the first 5 minutes. And then to your point with Isaiah Jackson, you could see him carving out like an 18 to 20 minute backup role last year, which obviously never really got to fruition. And while I agree with the Pacers that they can find ways to fill the hole that was left behind with Miles Turner, I think one, that's going to take some time and mostly just building chemistry with whatever lineup they decide to go with, which I believe will start with Isaiah Jackson followed by Jay Huff at that position. But I do not want to overlook it, and that's why it's my number one thing without question.
Yeah, I think, and Scott, not to dwell on this, but when you look at Halliburton and the video that I've seen, I know that, you know, he was shooting the other day, and he's done different things, and people, myself included, get excited by that. But then I have to temper myself because I'm like, look, he is not, it's certainly no time soon is he coming back. And I don't know whether or not and so this is my question for you, Scott. With Halliburton, the steps that he's made to this point, does he seemingly appear to be above schedule? I mean, ahead of schedule, or basically is everything going about what they anticipated?
Yeah, my sense is he's just slightly ahead of the schedule, just on the various checkpoints in terms of getting out of a boot, moving to a shoe part-time. The other night, I think it was Saturday, they had their Golden Gala. He was in dress shoes. Doesn't seem like much, but to me, that's an uncomfortable shoe most of the time. So that's encouraging that he's able to do that he's able to get shots up and walk around fine without a limp. So I think all signs are encouraging. But, yes, like you said, I also want to stress it's going to take time, and he needs to take all the time necessary because guys recover from this injury in particular at various speeds, and we've seen several of them here with Edmund Sumner, with these two lately, and even go back a decade with Tamika Catchings as well.
The kind of mixed signals, Scott, because Chad Buchanan had said, and I can't remember when or where it was, it probably was with JMV, although it might have been at the end of the year in a presser, that he thought that he was open to the fact or was admitting to the fact that this year there was the possibility that the Pacers were going to slow pace a little bit. We had Aaron Nesmith on a couple of weeks ago, and he said, absolutely not. There's not going to be any slow pace at all. We anticipate playing fast. And, Eddie was mentioning through what he saw, they so far are doing exactly that. What do you anticipate for, let's say, the first month that the average pace is going to be for them?
Yeah, I would say it's probably very similar, if not just a little bit below what it was last year. I mean, they've been running at every opportunity. They're still going to be pressuring at full court, causing chaos. They know what their standard is. They know where they can get ahead of opponents, and those are their strengths. These aren't things they're doing just because they're shorthanded. And I think those areas are going to continue even without Halliburton in particular. And they brought in guards. And maybe the other thing I'm curious for this first month, Jake, is how they work the guard rotation, in particular with Ben Shepherd being out in the short term, with rookie Cam Jones, who was brought in and drafted and hoped to be available. He's going to miss at least 2 to 3 weeks here to start the season, which I really don't like as a rookie, as he's dealing with an injury. And so that means he basically misses all of his rookie training camp. So I think the speed will be there. I'm very curious how the minutes allocation will be given the different lineups and such. But I think the most intriguing thing and fun thing, I think, Jake, will be that second unit with young, aspiring, hungry guys like Jarris Walker, Johnny Furphy, guys that have a lot to show and still a lot to prove.
Scott, something that I noticed when you just mentioned, picking up full court and whatnot during FanJam was that, and this is something that may have to change throughout the course of the season, is that last year Andrew Nembhard primarily was defending the other team's best scorer if it was a guard. I noticed that Benedict Mathurin took over the full court pickup in terms of the defensive, the full court defense rather than Andrew Nembhard. Is that something that we can see more of, just to kind of offload some of the work on Andrew Nembhard's plate to keep him fresh throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, I think it's just that, because you're going from his number one thing was take on the best defender. Now his number one thing has got to be to run the team, to get them organized, to get them into sets. We got to remember, too, the fact how much of Halliburton was setting things up. Now, a lot of it was a free-flowing offense, read, react, and try to capitalize in transition. But a lot of it was Halliburton, if needed, to call the plays or see something that he could take advantage of from an offensive standpoint. But then defensively, so many times he was kind of just a free safety or whatever. So, yeah, I think that's going to be there's so many different points that are intriguing, but that's another one, is how do they handle defensive assignments while still applying pressure, because they got to allow for Nembhard to get some breathers, to get some breaks, given the heavy workload and higher usage rate that I'm expecting this upcoming season.
Scott, you just mentioned a guy that I'm really intrigued by. And I feel like, here's a good way of putting it, Scott. Did you ever watch the TV show The Wire?
I have not yet. That's on the to-do list.
I think we've discussed it before. I personally think it's the greatest show ever done, but that's neither here nor there. One of the interesting things about it is at the end of the series, each character, you realize, kind of has the next generation right below it that you can tell is going to replace in society that character, okay?
Okay.
On an NBA roster, the last couple of years we have seen Jarris Walker be a young player that has kind of patiently waited his time, gotten into rotation, then kind of been out, then back in, and then obviously the injury right when I thought he was ready to take the next step. Assuming this year, due to attrition, he is going to get that opportunity for the next step. Does Johnny Furphy become the new Jarris Walker? Is this a guy that we're going to see getting rotation, then back out of rotation, and tease us, and then just have to wait, etc.?
Yeah, I do think so. If not, though, I think he might be a step above in terms of having greater of opportunity here so quickly. And I really like the short flashes that we have seen already from him, starting with Summer League and then going into this last week, because they've only had about 4 practices to this point. But Furphy, what he can do inside and out, I feel like he hasn't stopped growing is another thing. And then I think a lot of it's, too, is just learning the game and learning the league. Like, he was at Kansas for a year, came as the NBA as a 19-year-old. There is so much to absorb and soak in over this process. And then the next thing is pregame, he always worked with assistant coach Mike Weiner. Well, that coach is gone, so now there's another adaptation that you'll have for Johnny Furphy. But, yeah, I think that's spot on, Jake, in terms of Johnny's already become a fan favorite, by the way, which also helps that case because fans are going to be cheering his name, whether it's a blowout one way or the other, or there's an obvious gap for him to maybe slide into the rotation for an evening.
Could Johnny Furphy actually move past Jarris Walker in rotation?
Perhaps eventually. I don't think right away for a number of reasons. Jarris leaned more on for his defense, for his instincts, for those type of things. And I think Johnny has more to come along from that defensive end. I think Johnny plays better in terms of playing fast, getting up and down the court, getting into something random like this team likes. But I think Jarris is further along in other ways that will lead to him being ahead in the rotation, at least to start.
Scott Agnes is our guest, Fieldhouse Files, where you can read his work. Pacers in action tonight, taking on the Timberwolves in Minnesota. Scott, what do you, as you've been around it, and you've gone into, everything from media day to just, observing the shoot-arounds, whatever it may be, how do you approach, or how do you, I guess, decipher the Colts, the Pacers, like, body language, their approach to it all? In other words, we as fans and media are like, okay, gap year. It seems to me like they don't want to hear that, right? What is their philosophy or approach? What are they preaching?
Yeah, so, like, for example, going into last season, I think a lot of fans were saying, hey, we want to see you get to another series. And the Pacers, from that standpoint, were sitting there like, no, we want to reach the NBA Finals. And Look what they did. Like, that was true. Like, that was not – they were not completely full of it. And so going into this year, yeah, you're exactly right. They're not looking at it as, oh, let's just get by. Let's see if we can win 40 games and just stay in the conversation and be relevant. No, you have a lot of guys that want to continue to elevate their game. Like, I still believe there's a lot more there for even starters like Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith to take another level. Obviously, a big question at center. We know at this point exactly what Siakam is. But by the way, I continue to praise the front office from that standpoint because we knew what he could do on the court. But he has continued to excel and go above and beyond. And maybe that's just what he read of this situation and where he needed to contribute. But no, I think this team fully expects to get back to the playoffs and surprise everyone. And I think they are just fine with that. And I think in general, like, to your T-shirt theme, like, that's what this market is about. I think we're in a golden era, really, of Indiana sports amongst so many different teams. And
why not Indiana, baby?
Exactly. And I think they all, Jake, thrive on being that underdog. I mean, there's been years past where the Pacers would, if they'd be favored in a game, they'd play poorly. If they're the underdog, they'd come out and completely raise hell, make things complicated, come off with the win, and not be surprised by anything. So I think, again, they're leaning into that. It's not by any means a season of discovery with many different parts. But this first month will be very interesting for those number of reasons we started out at the top with.
But, Scott, between Nesmith, Nembhard, and Siakam, those three, the guy that is going to be asked to most deviate from be more versatile in the way they played before is which?
My first instinct there is not Nembhard, but rather Siakam, because Nembhard's handled the ball. He's been a point guard before. And, in fact, a couple of years ago, going into the season, he spent his off-season planning to be the backup point guard, but he was just too good that they couldn't have him out of the starting lineup. So for those reasons, I'm going to say Siakam because without Halliburton, his voice, his leadership on the court, his production, there's going to be needed more consistency and different roles and hats worn by Siakam.
I'm glad you mentioned the Tyrese Halliburton not being on the floor from the voice aspect, Scott, because I've been starting to think about this lately, like, who's going to have to step up as the vocal leader? Because no Halliburton, obviously, no Miles Turner, but I think a secret third voice that we don't talk about enough, this team not having anymore, is James Johnson. He played such a critical role behind the scenes with the development of some guys and keeping guys on track. How and who, I should say, who's going to have to step up and assume those roles? Because those are three things that have to be filled this upcoming year.
Yeah, and Miles' voice, especially defensively, was significant. The one thing with James, while it would be nice if he would return, the other thing Eddie felt going into this season is he's been around for 2 or 3 years here. It kind of felt like this season could be a time where you could kind of let the kids go and do what you've trained them to do, right? Like let the nest go out into the real world and see how the last couple of years have gone and how you've gotten them ready to this point. There's Siakam. I think Neesmith's going to continue to elevate what he contributes in a variety of ways. And then I think we shouldn't undervalue the voice of T.J. McConnell off the bench as well. He's seen a lot. He's played over 10 years in the league, so I think he can elevate where he contributes as well from that standpoint. But there will be no replacing James Johnson. I just think it's probably time to let this team fly on its own is how I best put it.
Scott, the following that I'm about to ask is almost embarrassing because it sounds so ludicrous, okay? But when you consider, and I know that they don't want to talk gap year and that kind of thing. The reality is this. We know what and who the Pacers can be once Halliburton gets back and, hopefully is close to what we have seen from his level of play, but that's a year from now. They got so much benefit when they were at their apex from the energy and the experience down the stretch of T.J. McConnell. Do they become cautious to not overplay McConnell this year because of his age to preserve him, if you will, for when Halliburton is back? And I know that sounds crazy.
No, it doesn't, but I would say yes, but for a different reason. I think his superpower is playing a specific allotment of minutes, that 18 to 22, 23. And because of how high energy, how high strung, how much he's laying it on the line, I think you lose some of that greatness, that pureness, that ability if you're trying to stretch him beyond his means. And so for that reason, more than anything, is why I think they have to be cautious of playing him, say, more than 24, 25 minutes per game.
If you could have a superpower, what would you pick?
Fly.
Eddie?
I like to save time. I am such an impatient
That's
person.
fair.
I don't know. Fly's a really good one. I was trying to go with something different because he stole mine.
Now, like when you fly, though, Scott, how high are you flying and how fast?
You know what? I haven't thought about that, but I would say as fast as possible because I would just be there in an instant. So,
what about cloning?
Yeah, I mean, do we want two of you?
I'd say teleporting would be next, maybe.
Yeah, well, if you teleport, you don't need to fly, right?
No, I'm not saying you would want two of me. I would want multiple of me. I could be in multiple places doing multiple different things.
Ed Sorensen used to routinely say, just clone me. I just want to get two of me. Yeah, that was like his number one line. But for what reason would you want to clone yourself, Eddie?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, Jake.
Don't you want to be one of a kind?
I would still be one of a kind. There wouldn't be other people out there.
Well, you're not one of a kind if you're cloning yourself.
Well, I am one of a kind because I'd be the only one that can clone myself.
Can you imagine, Scott, having two people with a head that big all on the same planet?
Oh, man.
I'd go
What would yours be?
Now, when I say this, you're going to think that I'm saying it for the tawdry purposes, and there are tawdry benefit, don't get me wrong. But I think one of them that's underrated, and I don't know if this is an actual superpower, but to make yourself invisible would be advantageous in numerous situations.
Yeah,
right?
That would be a really good one, too.
Think about it like, hey, do you have tickets to the game? I don't need them. Why? Just walk in, right?
Yep.
Go wherever you want to go.
Backstage at the concert.
Right. I mean, it's the number of, unbelievable. Now, but if you're invisible, now this is a disclaimer here. Do you think you would also then have to, what if your clothes are not invisible, but you are? Then you're basically still busted, right? It's going to look weird. People are going to see jeans just walking around, right?
No, you have like the Harry Potter cloak, so whatever was underneath it would be hidden.
Okay.
That's how I would view it.
I'm unfamiliar with the Harry Potter stuff.
Just picture a cape, so whatever is over your head and under the cape is invisible.
But
it's
the cape
invisibility cloak.
So the cape is also invisible?
Correct.
Because I don't know about you. If I'm sitting there, on the subway and a cape cart starts moving towards me, you know what I mean? Like there's going to be, I'm getting some weapons, right?
Yeah. No, that's a really good one, though. So many usage for that.
Who's your favorite superhero? And you can't say Superman or Batman.
Oh. I'm not sure. It's always been Superman.
I think the most Eddie, yours?
Iron Man.
Huh?
Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Now, mine, and I think he's underrated, this fella, Aquaman. I think Aquaman's underrated.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be cool, right? But everybody tells me that he's terrible on land. Is that true? I'm not into the superhero stuff, but I just think he's cool. I like anybody that's amphibious.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be a good choice.
Scott, what do you got upcoming here on Fieldhouse Files other than talking about amphibious things and invisible cloaks?
Just a lot more looking ahead to this Pacer season with news and notes, and then also still a lot more to come out of the Fever season. Headlined, obviously, with these collective bargaining agreements,
let me tell you,
conversations that aren't going anywhere.
The collective bargaining stuff, and I was really grateful, Scott, for all of the conversations that Stephanie White was kind enough to have with us over the course of the season. The last one that we had with her when we were talking about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA commissioner, and she was saying that she feels like Caitlin Clark is a pawn for other people. That got a lot of traction. There is a lot of discussion because I think what you have is the WNBA right now still kind of trying to learn how to now navigate through with transcendent stars within its league, right?
This is an entirely new world for them and something that they were not prepared for because it did not exist. Like Kathy's talked about, when she arrived at the league, there was like 1 or 2 marketing execs. Now they have like 20. Now they have all these different TV deals. Yeah, and she has certainly spearheaded it, meaning Caitlin. And then we've seen the other class, this latest one, Paige Becker's follow. But no, Caitlin is in a league of her own in terms of interest and such. I put her up there with Tiger, with mainly Tiger, maybe an MJ.
She said
Serena Williams.
She said Serena Williams. That was the other one.
Yeah.
Stephanie had mentioned. To me, Scott, before we let you go, the thing about the WNBA in general and Caitlin Clark, there is no denying Caitlin Clark's talent, star power, all of it, right? What I'm fascinated by, and it's a conversation probably more to be had once the season is getting ready to resume, but is it unfair of me to say that I am intrigued by how the Fever reacclimate with her on the court because of, out of necessity, the bond in which that roster was able to coagulate with one another without her on the floor?
I would say that's partially fair because mostly because the reality is this team could look very different. There were only 5 returning players last year. Most of the league are free agents, Jake. There's expansion teams, 2 coming in. So we still don't know how many players teams can protect. It is the wild, wild west right now that nobody knows the rules or what's going to happen here. But I will say, to her credit, she was as involved as she could have been. On the road for all but 1 game this season. She found routines with different teammates to stay engaged and such, and they still tried to play fast and do different things. But yes, there is certainly a period of reacclimating to her being the focal point, but I also bet she realized, too, of how best to utilize maybe my teammates even more to supercharge what they did this past season without her.
Nick chimes in on the text that his desired superpower would be irresistibility to women. Now, I don't know if that's a superpower or not. I don't know that I would. To me, that feels redundant.
Oh, boy.
I'm just saying, for what it's worth. All right, Scott, appreciate the time as always.
All right, thanks, Jake.
Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files. Eddie, anything you'd like to add there? I don't think that's
Agnes
a superpower.
does a great job with Fieldhouse Files.
What's that?
Scott Agnes does a great job with Fieldhouse Files. Make sure you subscribe to him on YouTube, yeah.
What daily chore or task would you want to never have to do again?
Oh, laundry? Would that be number 1?
I love doing laundry.
I just don't like all the time. You know, you got to put it in the washer, put it in the dryer, then you got to put them clothes away.
I love it. The 2 things that I love doing more than anything in the world are laundry and dishes. I love it. And dishes I don't have to do because, I never eat at home. Maybe that's why I don't have to do them very often. But I love doing laundry. What about mowing the lawn? Do you like mowing the lawn?
I do.
When I was a kid, I hated mowing the lawn because
I love the smell.
See, I would get like not allergic, but I would start sneezing uncontrollably by the grass clippings. But now, let me ask you this. You know what would be a great invention? A great invention would be some sort of a cleaner that gets that green. Because what shoes do you wear when you mow the lawn?
I just wear some old shoes.
That's it. Like, you got to wear the old ones, right?
Yeah.
But aren't they uncomfortable because then they get like cakey and you know what I mean?
They're made for outdoors. So
what about a shoe that's made for exactly that? Your lawn mowing shoes. Just shoes, like lightweight shoes that are impermeable to the stain of the grass.
It's called boots.
Yeah, but they're not lightweight.
I'm sure there are lightweight
Dead of
boots
summer, it's hot outside. I don't know. What are you, walking around in waders?
You can wear like
Look
rain
like
boots.
Paul Bunyan mowing your lawn?
You could wear rain boots. Those are not
rain boots.
Yeah.
Rain boots are like knee-high things with like, what are you, like the Morton Salt girl walking around mowing the lawn? It's got to be uncomfortable when it's hot out, right?
Not really.
You wear socks underneath them all the way up?
You don't have to.
Because then you start getting into the like chafing skin, and now all of a sudden you're getting into Gold Bond territory.
I'm familiar with the Gold Bond.
Walking around like you just got off the horse. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. I had a buddy one time that was visiting his future in-laws, and they went golfing. He went golfing all day with his future father-in-law. Went into the bathroom, realized that he needed, let's just say, Gold Bond in the sensitive areas, and was like, you know what? Like, I wonder if her dad has some. Reaches in, sees it, puts it on, and it was the Gold Bond foot powder. Knocked himself backwards, fell over. Scott, everything okay in there? Everything's fine. Not good.
Did you just out your friend there?
No, I didn't say his last name.
Okay.
Although we typically didn't call him Scott, we just called him McConnell.
Okay.
We'll come back. What's interesting about this song? I believe I've asked this before. Can I ask it again?
Sure.
Thank you, I will.
Sure.
I was waiting
It's
for
your
them to
show.
tell me that.
What if I said no?
I was waiting for the lyric where they say, yes, you can. See, I was setting that up. Where can I? But go back to the very beginning of the song.
Like the very
very beginning. Okay? Right here. Is this the most sampled opening riff to a song of the last, 50 years? Because when you play that, people in their car right now, depending how old they are or what generation they're from, before that part kicks in, may think of that as being any of 3 different songs. That I've always wondered that, because you literally, when it starts, you're like, no, wait, which version am I hearing here? Am I hearing, the original? Am I hearing Marky Mark? Am I hearing Tribe Called Quest? On and on and on. It's a great song, though. The one you just played is a great song. It might be actually the best version of them.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, which song are you talking about?
Pull up the Wild Side by hold on. Is it Wild Side? See if that's the name of the song from Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Yep.
Okay, play that one in just a second, and then obviously you've got the original, right? And it's funny because once you start playing one in your head, then it becomes difficult to remember the way that the others go on. Obviously, it's Lou Reed, right? The Lou Reed version?
The one I played?
No, what you played was Tribe Called Quest.
Mm-hmm.
But see go ahead and play did you find the Marky Mark version?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. See, I've forgotten that he does this part here. He's got the track underneath it, right?
I hear it a little bit, yeah.
Well, it's definitely there, but you hear the track underneath it. Now, one of the most sampled songs of all time, apparently, or bits of all time, there is a drum beat that is notably used from George Michael and I can't do it now because I've got that stuck in my head now. But there is a drum beat that you don't realize is used in and I think it is a drum beat from not a Chuck Berry song, but it's been used in so many songs you don't even realize. And of course now they can take anything and mix it up and AI it and generate it and whatever else. But we have breaking news, Eddie. Go ahead.
You like how I timed that up, Jake?
I did.
I was really, really well done on my part. The Colts have a kicker, Jake. The Colts officially have a kicker.
I'm going to guess. I have not heard yet today whether or not Buffalo has, because their kicker Tyler Bass is expected to come off of IR, and when that takes place, I would assume that they are going to make available Matt Prater, but also the Colts, in my mind, there are 2 kickers that they've seemingly gone back to on a number of occasions in this situation.
Maddox Trejo?
And one of them is Michael Badgley, who is available, that I mentioned yesterday, and that's my prediction. Okay? So Michael Badgley, when did he last kick for the Colts?
He kicked for the Colts in 2021. Played 12 games with the Colts, 18 of 21 on field goals. He was 6 of 7, 30 to 39, 8 of 9 from 40 to 49. Missed his only attempt from 50-plus yards. In his career, though, he is 5 of 13 north of 50. Career long is 59 yards. He made that in 2018. Played in 4 games with the Lions last year, made all 4 field goals.
To me, kicker is a position that...
Or 2 years ago, sorry.
There are... If you have a top 5 kicker... What did the Colts learn? Of any franchise, none more so than the Colts have learned this. Kicking is a position that comes down really to 3 things: mental, and just like being on a hot streak, physical and not having any sort of injury to like either the hamstring or hip, and not getting caught up in certainly the first. In this town, there are sure, we can go back and talk about Raul Alegre. Great. We can talk about Kerry Blanchard. Great. But in this town, there are 3 kickers that really jump out, okay? You've obviously got Vinatieri, it goes without saying, and then you saw once his body started to break down, it was over. You've got Vanderjagt, who was the most accurate kicker in the history of the league, but when we had him on, and I was stunned, and I've always appreciated his transparency. But when he admitted to the fact that once it started to go away, he was going out in the field and looking at the ball, and he's like, I have no idea how to kick this thing. It was all mental. Once the mental aspect went away, he was like, I'm done. And he knew he was done. And then the third kicker, which is kind of the poster child of not getting too confident and not buying into or riding too long the hot streak of the mental aspect, and that's Matt Gay. Because the Colts went out and gave him the biggest kicker free agency contract in the history of the league, and he was a kicker that once it started to go awry for him, and I know he was a little dinged up, so he kind of straddles both sides here of this. But remember Chris Ballard saying, like, look, he's a good kicker. The guy's a good kicker. But then ultimately, they make that change. They bring in Spencer Schrader, and he was kicking really well. And then, obviously, at no fault of his, you have the injury. But Badgley is a guy that if he is on a hot streak, you roll with it, man. You go with it. Just let it roll until you run out, and then you go out and you find another one. And I will be curious to see. You can bet. I mean, the second he misses a 42-yarder at Lucas Oil Stadium, they're going to be groans, but you can't blame the guy. I mean, there's a reason he was available in October. I wonder how many they brought in. Did it say?
No.
Speaking of bringing in, we're bringing Greg Rakestraw in. He is in for JMV, who is off today. We will talk to Greg, find out what he's got lined up, and put a tie on all of it, get you set up for the Pacers tonight. We'll do it on the other side. So this is it right here. Nice job, Eddie. This is Waiting for That Day from George Michael, which I think is a fabulous song, by the way, from Listen Without Prejudice. And the drum line you hear there is Funky Drummer from James Brown. And that is apparently one of the most sampled drum line sounds. He speeds it up for this particular song, but that's what he used it in. And he mentioned the fact that in doing it, he had heard a slower version of it, sped it up, and went with that. Did I mention that I'm watching this show called Chad Powers?
Only like a million times on Monday.
So, good show. What I didn't know is in it, I think the third episode came out at midnight last night, whatever you want to say today. What I believe to be what's going to be the love interest of the main character is a female, is the actress, and she's married to Mark Sanchez. Now, I'm guessing he has not seen yet episode 3. I don't know that, but that's just a hunch. Been a little busy. Greg Rakestraw just walked in. He is in for JMV today and tomorrow. Is that right, Greg?
That is correct, sir. Is this officially Crosstalk presented by Love Heating and Cooling?
That is correct. Love-HVAC.com, 317-353-2141. Thank you for the tee up there. What's on the big program today, Greg?
Boali Cox at 3:30, Drew Storen at 4 o'clock, Kristen Airy at 4:30.
Pacers in action tonight. We were talking about this. The thing that most intrigues you about the Pacers tonight?
I'm not sure if tonight will be the case because it's a preseason game, but obviously big picture when the season starts for real in 16 days, how much does this Pacer team look like last year's Pacer team with the obvious absence of Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner?
Especially just like in their pacing, right? You know what I mean? The style that they're going to play. I mean, there's a number of things that go into it. We were talking earlier also. I want your thoughts on this, Greg. Is Greg Rakestraw, of course, you hear him on the post-game shows for Colts games. You know, I feel like, and look, I know that there are a number of factors that are different for this Colts team versus last, Tyler Warren being one of them notably, but Daniel Jones being the big one. But I feel like this year so far, in a couple of different ways, have shown the coaching maturation of Shane Steichen.
Sure.
Not only in the manner in which he is calling plays for Daniel Jones, and I think, as John and I talked about yesterday, there's reciprocity there as well because Daniel Jones is able to do different things because of what's being called by Steichen. But the A.D. Mitchell situation, Greg, I don't know that Shane Steichen in year one or even year two does the discipline there of an A.D. Mitchell or as he did the way he did it the other day. Am I off base?
No, I think there's something to that. Now, is it an apples-to-apples comparison? Because obviously, amazingly, this has happened twice in the last, 8 competitive games for the Colts.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Taylor has earned a bit more of a mistake card than A.D. Mitchell has.
Also plays a position where there's less depth and is higher up on said chart anyway, right?
Correct. Has 5 years of one of the best players at his position versus, hey, this guy has potential, but is the 4th best receiver we have. And you could argue how Ashton Doolin played, maybe your 5th best receiver because Ashton played so well. So, but yes, there seems to be much more of an accountability factor. It's been talked about. Every coach talks about things like this in press conferences, but obviously it has been much more on display so far this year.
You know, Taylor's interesting too because he is a position, Greg, that there was a time, and I'm as guilty of this as anybody. There was a time of saying, yeah, it's great that the Colts have Jonathan Taylor, but like you don't win on the running back in today's NFL. And it seems like that's kind of coming back to them.
I see where you're working, and yes, the pendulum is swinging back to that style of football in the National Football League.
I mean,
Agreed.
I've noticed, you know, last night, I thought Trevor Lawrence was really good last night. But the number of games that I look towards now, and then I look afterwards at guys' passing numbers, and you know, a guy's throwing for 198 yards, 185 yards. You know, Joe Flacco today just got traded to Cincinnati. He's probably going to – and he has big weapons there, right? But he when he was here. 195-yard game. I mean, that was 5 years ago. That was unheard of because everybody was throwing for 350. It just seems like the league becomes, whether it's because of the way it's being officiated or the way it's being called, it feels cyclical.
I think to some degree it is also because of the NFL game resembles a lot more of the college game than it used to.
Right.
There was always a line of demarcation. You could run this style in college. You cannot do that in the National Football League. And now, seemingly that barrier is gone. And so perhaps your total yardage from your quarterback position is still around 300, 350. But now you are just as apt to get 50 to 75 yards rushing from a quarterback and 200 and 225
look at last
yards.
night. I mean, both, at one point last night, I think both quarterbacks were leading their team in rushing at one point last night in that game, and then Lawrence ends up winning it in a crazy play, but winning it on the ground, and now they're tied with the Colts at 4-1.
By the way, I have coined a play last night, the Stumble Rooski.
Nice.
Thank you. Appreciate that. As a guy that is pretty witty on Twitter yourself, I figure you would appreciate something along that line. Thank you.
Don't try trademarking it, though, because it takes forever.
Okay, yeah. Why not Indiana, right?
Yes, but man, it took forever. It took like a year to get that done. I don't
have that sort of time to put into it, Jake.
I'm super impressed by people that have stuff trademarked a lot because when I did that, I thought it was just like, oh, this will be easy. Man, there are a lot of steps to that. A lot. All right, Greg Rakestraw is in next for JMV. We'll be back with you at noon. What's on the big program tomorrow, Eddie?
Recapping a first preseason game for the Pacers. Maybe get Ralph Reef on.
Like that.
Talk a little bit about what he's seen from the Tyrese Halliburton with him, shooting. Where's he at in that return? And the Kelsey Mitchell situation from last week or 2 weeks ago now as well. He can expand more on that.
All right, we will do it all tomorrow beginning at noon. Greg is up next. I thank you for listening to Query & Company.